First story. OP's entitled girlfriend accused OP of having an affair with his daughter, replacing his late wife after he refused to give his daughter's room and allowance to her kids. OP lost it and kicked both his girlfriend, her kids, and their unborn child out of the house. My 47M daughter Stacy 15F has one of the 2 rooms in my house with an in-suite bathroom. It's a large room with a nice bay window, which is obviously very nice. I've recently become engaged to my girlfriend of 3 years, Alice 33, and her landlord has recently hiked her rent, so we're planning to have her move in with me. She has some kids. She has 2 daughters 13F, 10F, and 2 sons 11M, 9M. She is also pregnant, and our daughter is due in about 5 months. I've made it absolutely clear to my daughter, as a condition of getting her approval on moving my girlfriend in, that she is allowed to keep her room, and she is also allowed to have a full lock on her door. For what it's worth, I also got my son's 24-year-old blessing to give away his old room, although that's more of a moot point, as he lives with his own girlfriend now. My daughter plans to go to school locally, and I have told her in no uncertain terms that she's welcome to live at home for the rest of my life, and after that she can inherit the house. I bought the house with her mother and paid it off in large part with her mother's life insurance 10 years ago, so it only seems fair. She says she's all right as long as she has her room and her bathroom, and she's allowed to put a lock on her door. She has a toaster oven and a mini fridge in there, so I guess she's pretty well set up. Stacy will be giving up a room that she's currently using as a studio project space. She does art, videos, voiceovers, etc. So even her larger room will become a bit more cramped, and she'll definitely need the extra space she has. There will be a bedroom for Alice's girls, Stacy's old project room, and Alice's boys will be getting my son's old room. I'm going to be putting in a finished nursery or bedroom in the basement for our new daughter. Alice thinks that this is unfair. She thinks it was wrong of me to make the decision without her. And she also thinks that she should move her 2 daughters into Stacy's room, and that Stacy should have to move to the smaller room that they'll be getting. The 2 of them already share a smaller room than the one I'm moving them into as it is, so they are getting an upgrade regardless. Alice thinks that it's not fair for Stacy to have a bathroom all day herself, and that there won't be enough bathrooms for everyone else. She also disapproves of Stacy being able to lock everyone out. There were other smaller things she didn't like that I agreed to with Stacy, like the fact that she is to be paid for any babysitting, or the fact that my older car, her mom's old car, is hers when she gets her driver's license. We'll have our own bathroom in the master bedroom, and the house has 3 other bathrooms besides, 1 on each floor, 1 near what will be her girl's room, 1 not far from what will be the boy's room, and 1 that will basically be directly next to the new finished room. I told Alice that my deal with Stacy is non-negotiable, set in stone, and that it's literally a condition of her even moving in. Alice is upset that Stacy and I both have spaces completely dedicated to ourselves. I have my office, which I need because I work from home and have projects besides, and there aren't a whole lot of other spaces to put people. I told her she can pretty much do what she wants in the living room, but that it is what it is, and there's pretty much nothing to be done about it. A bigger house is not an option unless Alice is going to start making a hell of a lot more money and buy her own bigger house. It's already a pretty big house, and housing is expensive. I told her that she's already getting a break by only expecting her to contribute 15 or 20% to household bills. If we were doing it proportionately, it would be more like 25 to 30%. We keep separate finances, and we've agreed to a prenup. Alice just seems upset that I won't change the setup, even though there's no real way to change it. And she's accused me of treating Stacy like a spoiled little princess and letting her be queen of the house. Frankly, my daughter comes first. She's lived here all her life, and I already know it's going to be a big adjustment having all these other kids move in. As much as I love Alice, and as much as I want our relationship to work out, if it's a matter of choosing between the 2 of them, then my relationship with Alice is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I've told her that if she comes into this with wicked stepmother vibes, that'll be the end of things. She thinks I'm being unreasonable. Ada? Update. I got a lot of eye-opening insight and advice from my post, so I feel it's worth giving everyone an update, especially considering developments. First, to address a few questions that seem to keep coming up before I lost the ability to read each and every reply, although I'm still trying. My son, 24 years old, is my child from a previous relationship before I met or married my late wife. He has his own provisions in my will, but he's quite aware that the house goes to his sister. My own sister is to become guardian of my daughter if anything should happen to me. I love my sister as dearly as I love anyone, and she and her niece love each other and get along great. I trust her completely if, God forbid, anything should happen. Yes, the basement is an unusual place for a nursery. But I was just trying to make people fit where they could go. The move was supposed to happen within a month, and Alice's older kids needed rooms now. Meanwhile, the baby isn't going to be born for about 5 months, so she could go into the room that hasn't been made yet. I honestly figured we could keep a crib in our room for a bit, and after that, it's no big deal for a kid to have her room in a finished basement. Also, honestly, I didn't want to move my office. It's been where it is forever, and I didn't want to move it. I can admit that. We've had the beginnings and groundwork of a finished basement since forever, but there was never any reason to really put a move on it. It was a big change to go from having more room than we needed with just me and Stacy rattling around in the house to suddenly scrambling for space and not having enough. It was the obvious spot where an additional bedroom could go, but not the spot where a bedroom is now. Alice and I had talked about marriage and children more or less in the abstract on many occasions, and we both wanted to get married at some point if things continued to work out, and I wanted to have more children, although this pregnancy was quite unexpected. It was Alice's pregnancy combined with a rent hike at her place that accelerated the timetable for things. For what it's worth, the rent hike is real. I've seen the paperwork, and I have literally no reason to suspect the baby is not mine. But yes, the only reason we got engaged so recently is because Alice got pregnant. The only reason why Alice and her kids would be moving in with me so suddenly is because she was likely to need to move somewhere, and I'd obviously like to be responsible for, be near, or raise my coming daughter. To me, it made sense for my daughter to live with me. I never wanted to be an absentee or part-time parent, or to not have time or share space with my child. The circumstances all made sense, at least until now. I was definitely wary of Alice and paying more attention to her, especially after the many comments that I read. I came to Reddit to get a sanity check on whether or not I was being an arsehole about my conditions with Stacy, not to try to actually make any kind of major life or relationship changes. But I didn't want to turn a blind eye either. It was Friday, and Stacy texted me, asking for her allowance. I was with Alice at the time, and I went ahead and let the subject come up. I give Stacy $100 a week. Alice thinks that this is crazy and excessive. She thinks it's improper, and she's brought it up as an example of how she thinks I'm raising Stacy like a spoiled princess. She said as much again when I told her I was sending Stacy her allowance. But this time Alice also asked if her kids would get the same allowance after we get married. I told her that someday our new daughter would probably get an allowance just like Stacy does, but that there was no way I had any plans of shelling out an extra $400 a week for her other kids. Alice got upset. She said that Stacy wasted my money on shoes and makeup. She has previously criticized Stacy for wearing fancy sneakers, high heels, and makeup, and she said that I was showing favoritism, and that is a form of abuse. She complained about me letting Stacy buy things with my credit card and store my credit card on her phone when I don't even let Alice do that. She said that whatever money was going to go to the kids should be split evenly amongst them. When I shrugged and told her that that wasn't going to happen, and that I wasn't going to cut Stacy's allowance, she snapped at me and said that a man living alone with his daughter and doting on her like I do is creepy and incestuous, and she said, "You've just replaced your dead wife with your daughter, and you need to stop." That was it. Sure. I've ignored a lot of red flags up until now, but that was it. She started trying to tell me about how it's unhealthy for me to be so close with Stacy, how she didn't want her kids to be neglected, and how she wanted to be treated as an equal if we were getting married. But I interrupted her and told her that I don't think we should be getting married. I told her that I didn't want her moving in, and that we were going to need to work something else out. To be perfectly honest, my sister, my brother, and some of my friends have expressed some of the same misgivings about Alice that I've read, although they were generally a lot more gentle about it. I was in love with her. In fact, I'm still in love with her, and I wasn't seeing things clearly. I told her that I would always and definitely make sure that our child had a roof over her head, but that she was going to have to work something out for herself and her kids on her own. Obviously, we had a huge fight. She screamed at me. She called me a heartless bastard. She blamed Stacy for trying to sabotage our relationship. She guilt-tripped me about her cost of living and how I'm in an empty house all by myself. She also guilt-tripped me about the stress on the baby, and I actually do feel bad and worry about that. She eventually broke down, crying, and told me to leave. In the past 10 years, this was the first relationship with a woman I've had that became serious. I love her, and this hurts. It hurts a hell of a lot. I told Stacy that she didn't have to bother moving her stuff out of the other room, and that Alice wasn't coming, and we hugged. She asked if this was her fault, and I told her no. I told her I honestly feel like marrying Alice would have been a mistake, even if the two of them could have been best buddies. I always wanted to have a few more kids, and I've missed having a wife. But things don't always happen the way we want. So I'm pretty sure my relationship with Alice is effectively over, even if we're going to be raising a child together for the foreseeable future. My new daughter can have my son's old room whenever we work out whatever custody agreement we end up working out. I'm not sorry to be having another kid, even if I really wish the circumstances could be better. The red flags were always there. I guess it's better that I notice them now instead of even later. Second story. Entitled Neighbors Demand I paint my house a different color, then proceed to change it themselves when I'm out. Police say they can't arrest cause of zero damage. Then the stupid neighbors filed a lawsuit demanding me to pay them the money spent on my house painting. So this is probably a really weird question for me to ask. But it's a weird situation, and I'm not really sure what I can do. My house is on a corner lot. 2 years ago, a newlywed couple moved into the one house that's beside mine. Right away, they started making weird comments about the color my house was painted yellow, and soon switched to outright demanding that I painted a different color. My house was painted yellow when it was built. I like the color, and there is no bylaw against it or anything. They have called the police on me about it, as well as the city, both of whom told them to pound sound because I hadn't done anything wrong, and there was nothing they could do. They also tried suing me in court. The suit was thrown out, and they had to pay my legal fees and getting our other neighbors together to form a homeowners association in the hopes eventually I could be forced to paint my house a different color. Our other neighbors also told them to pound sand, and they have basically alienated themselves from everyone else in the neighborhood at this point. I recently had to go out of town for something. I was gone for 2 weeks. When I got back 2 days ago, my house was gray. Seriously. I actually almost drove past it because I'm so used to my yellow house. I knew immediately who was responsible. But when I went over and knocked on their door, no one answered. I think the couple figured out that I was away, and not just at work, when they saw our neighbors collecting my mail for me. Because I sure as hell never told them I was going away. And I know my other neighbors hate them too and didn't tell them. The neighbor from across the street came over and showed me pictures that he took of the painting company setting up and doing the work. He said he and another neighbor called the police, but the painting company had a valid work order and had been paid, so the police couldn't do anything. He also told me about it, but because they were paid to do the work, they said they had to do it to avoid being sued. I called the painting company to get a copy of the work order, and it was in the name of Miss Jane Smith and was paid for in cash. A red-headed woman and her red-headed husband came to the company to hire them. My neighbors are both redheads, saying they would be out of town and would like their house painted while they were gone. They gave the painting company pictures of my house, taken from the street. I have a surveillance camera at my front and side doors, and in my backyard because I work shifts. And as a woman living alone, I don't want some strangers breaking into my house and waiting to ambush me when I get home. My neighbors never set foot on my property at any time, so they can't be charged with trespassing. And they didn't do the painting, which was actually done properly. When I called the police, they reiterated that since the painters were hired, had a valid work order, and were paid to do the job, they couldn't be charged with trespassing because it was reasonable for them not to know. And they were acting in good faith and didn't cause any physical damage to the house. Also, the neighbors can't be charged with trespassing or vandalism because they didn't come onto my property or touch the house themselves. I don't know if I can sue anyone because there was no actual damage or harm done to me or the house. My neighbors still have not answered their door or shown themselves. I am pissed off beyond belief because I liked my yellow house, and I can't believe how effing crazy they have been. I wish I could show a court or city council how psychotic they have been over this. I want to know if I have any recourse, or if I can do something to get them to pay to paint the house back to yellow. Does anyone know what I can do to get them to fix this and paint it back? Edit. I live in the state of Louisiana. Relevant comments. Top comment deleted. Call your homeowner's insurance and file a vandalism claim. The insurance company pays you to paint your home yellow. Give the insurance company all the information and let them sue them. This is why you have insurance. Cal 37. They defaced your property. That is vandalism. Depending on how much it costs to fix it, it may be a felony. You also have damages. The cost of painting your house back to the color you like. The principle applies to someone who paints a beautiful mural on a drab gray wall. That is still vandalism, even though, in many respects, it is an improvement on how much a new paint job would cost. OP. The neighbors paid $4,000 in cash. according to the painting company. Update. Next day. I was going to wait until after the weekend to talk to the lawyer I used for their last lawsuit against me. But there have been further developments, so I had to call him this morning. Beyond the fact that they have filed another lawsuit against me for the cost of the painters, yes, seriously, I can't say anything further about what has all happened. On the advice of my lawyer, I will provide an update once everything is resolved. Edit. Thank you to everyone who responded to my last post. You really know how to make a girl feel special. Relevant comments. Lupine chemist. Well, I suppose that makes proving culpability pretty easy. The painters are no longer needed to pin the neighbors. An Uncharted Island. Seriously, didn't they just completely incriminate themselves? If so, that's actually awesome news for OP. Hindies. They did. And what's even better is that they are too stupid to realize they've incriminated themselves. Editor's note. Sadly marking this as inconclusive as OP hasn't posted in over 8 years. We'll have to assume OP's house color is back to cheery yellow, with a sprinkling of tasteful rainbow polka dots, reluctantly financed by their neighbors. Third story. My delusional friend is obsessed with my son and thinks she is his mother. She then berated me for sharing my son's photos on Facebook for my family to see without her permission after stalking me online, so I went to NC with her. Now she went to friends, sobbing about how I ditched her when all she wanted was some love. Fake names, throwaway names, etc. I 21M have sole custody of my son 5M. I'll be the first to admit that I'm very protective and paranoid over Damien. But I don't think I'm overreacting in this instance. I'm friends with a group of people in the same major as me. The girl in question, Ivy19F, is a recent addition to the group and is a bit immature, but she's very friendly and nice to hang out with. She tried flirting with me in the past, but I firmly rejected her, and she seemed to have gotten over it. We've known each other for about a year. Recently, they all hung out at my place for a bit. Obviously, Damien was there and met Ivy. Ivy was instantly smitten because Damien's adorable. Her behavior since then has been really off-putting. She constantly asks to babysit Damien and pouts when I say no. Thinks Damien should come to every study session or hang out even ones later at night. Wants to talk about him constantly, etc. 1 or 2 girls before have tried to be Damien's mom, and my response has been icing them out of our lives. But this is a lot more complicated as she's integrated into my main group of friends. I've mostly just not responded to her when she talks about Damien, but I'm looking for ways to shut her down permanently without getting everyone else involved. TLDR. I'm looking for ways to establish a firm boundary between my son and my friend, who seems to want to be his mom. Relevant comments. OP. I think it's one thing for her to offer once or twice to babysit, then stop when I say I don't need it. The thing is, she's constantly offering to babysit and only seems to want to talk about my kid or our life, which is a bit of a red flag to me. Also, Damien has plenty of women in his life to look up to. My mom or my sister are the people watching him when I'm at school or working, for one. Watching Bertrand Beller. You can just let her know that while her offers to child watch are much appreciated, you find his presence during group work and study times a distraction from what you need to focus on at the time. But her offers are under consideration, and if you have need of her, you will take her up on the offer. The other thing that might be happening is that she is crushing on you and wants to do you a favor in hopes of winning your affections. Her acceptance of your kid is a way of showing how great you two would be together. This is how I thought as a 19-year-old with a guy in my friend group with a kid. OP. I think I'll firmly tell her that I don't need her to babysit, and that I have plenty of people already who can watch Damien, and that I will not talk about him if she brings him up again. When if you like it. So basically, Ivy and these other girls aren't actually that interested in Damien, are they? They're more interested in showing you what great mommies they are and how much they love your kid in order to get with you, right? Because, I have kids, not single, but still. And I don't have a problem with my friends totally falling in love with my sons and inviting them to stuff or asking about them. However, it seems like the situation is way different with these girls and your son. If Ivy gets really overbearing, you might need to get blunt about it. Sorry, I've got enough childcare, and study groups are for studying. Also, ease up on the maternal stuff, okay? I'm not in the market for a new mother for my son, and you're getting pretty creepy about it. OP. That's my feeling about it, and it's happened before. I'm trying to keep down my knee-jerk reaction of being upset over her trying to use my son, because I don't think it's a conscious decision. I don't mind my friends loving Damien and wanting to hang out with him. He's a very lovable kid. Late Iskman. Since you had your son at a young age, You grew up fast. She hasn't yet experienced real life. She'll get over it. Good for you for sticking to your guns. Where is Damien's mom in all this? You should tell her in case Ivy is stalking her on Facebook and such. I don't think it's to the point of getting authorities involved, but more of a heads up. OP. Damien's mom is not in his life, period. But thanks for the suggestion. Update. 2 months later. My OP didn't get a lot of traction, and I didn't expect it to. But goddamn, did things get strange? Some things I didn't mention in my original post that probably explained my situation a bit better are. Damien is generally babysat by my mother, as I rent the apartment above her garage, and she is retired. Barring that, my older sister is a song my niece is 4, and she can take Damien in. Damien has also started kindergarten. I definitely don't need any help with childcare. Ivy's very intense and outgoing, almost overbearing. As I said before, she's 19 and still has the teenager mindset. She was very badgering about both her flirting and her childcare offers, and I think she thinks that if my kid likes her, I'll like her too. I'm very, very careful about who I let into Damien's life, as that could affect him deeply. I also have a Facebook account on what I thought was very tight lockdown. I occasionally share photos of Damien up there, like 3 or so a year, kind of holiday card type pictures. Relevant. Ivy and I ended up alone together on campus, and she once again made an offer to watch Damien, so I had a night to myself. I firmly said that I don't need a babysitter, that her repeated offers were not appreciated, and that spending time with my son is far from a hardship. Kids conk out at like 8. It's not like I don't have free time. I think that got through to her, and she stopped asking. I thought it was over, or so I thought. At the beginning of October, I went out with my family to a pumpkin patch fall festival thing. My sister took a picture of Damien and me together. I thought it was a nice photo, so I uploaded it so people like my uncles and aunts upstate could see it. One of my oldest friends, who is a lesbian, and her profile picture is her kissing her girlfriend at Pride, made a DILF joke in the comments, which is the same DILF joke she's been making since Damien was born. I think it's hilarious. She thinks it's hilarious. And everyone on my Facebook knows it's a joke. Ivy has my number because of the study group. About a day after I posted that picture, I got a long, rambling text about how my oldest friend is secretly in love with me and is being disrespectful of my son's relationship. It was a wall of text that honestly made me think she was drunk despite it being a Tuesday afternoon. And then I realized how the F did she get access to the picture and the comments when we're not friends on Facebook and everything is on lockdown. She had gone on to a mutual friend's Facebook without him knowing. I told her that her next level Facebook stalking and immense investment in a 5-year-old were incredibly worrisome, then blocked her. I talked to a couple of other people about it, and they all mentioned they thought Ivy's behavior was getting increasingly strange and were going to talk about it with her. A mutual friend, Maggie, then called me and said that Ivy had come to her apartment, sobbing about how I don't love her, that I'm her dream guy, etc. Romance novel stuff is very concerning. I got a lot of similar texts until Maggie somehow convinced her to delete my number. Anyway, I ended up not talking to Ivy anymore anyway, and she's probably not coming to the study groups anymore. Hopefully, this was the last manifestation of teenage angst, and she'll feel embarrassed about it afterwards instead of something more serious. Maggie says she'll update me in case something drastic happens. Even when my DCK is securely inside my pants, it attracts crazy people. TLDR. I tried to handle things diplomatically, but Ivy went completely off the rails and had to go without contact anyway. Relevant comments. Backup Bs. It sounds like this was a difficult and stressful situation. OP. If you need some time to relax and recover from it, I would be more than happy to watch Damien for a bit. Crackle. I got a lot of similar texts until Maggie somehow convinced her to delete my number. By Maggie Dinner. OP. Maggie is a saint. Deleted. This is a totally personal question, so feel free to just ignore it. But how did you end up having sole custody of your child? You have been firm and direct with this girl in regards to establishing boundaries. At this point, I'd avoid her like the plague. Your mutual friends will understand your need to protect your child. OP. Damien's mother stabbed me. At 16, I was not a good judge of character. I still have the scar. Deleted. F. That was not what I was expecting. OP. No one ever does. Lexifus. I just appreciate the use of Batman names. I hope everything stays alright. Have a good one. OP. Fake names that were easy to remember. Ianophion. So you're a young man. You're caring for a young boy. You've been stabbed. You're distant yet firm and kind. And a lot of the names of folks you know are known associates of Bruce Wayne and or Batman. And you attract a lot of crazy women into your life without intending to. I'm suspicious. OP. I like Batman, ergo the choice in fake names. I'm also much more of a Jason Todd. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.